Round two. Let me see if I can invite somebody here. Okay, Louka is my guest here, and I sent you an invite to hop on. So hopefully you will receive that invite. Hello to all my peoples coming back on. Hi, Jessica. We are going to be talking about skilled strength, kettlebell training. I wrote in the description here of is the kettlebell a fad? Is our kettlebell workouts a fad? I guess anything could be a fad, but Louka, who is also an SFG like myself, he's quite a bit above me in terms of ranks. He's a team leader, so basically he's just even more badass at what he does. Very highly skilled, which is why I wanted to have a conversation with him, and he's got a really cool story as well. If I could get him on here, that would be the ideal. Louka, thoughts on this? I should also have my computer here so I can message him. Oh, Louka, important, you have to be on a cell phone. That's my disclaimer. You got to be on a cell phone in order to do shared screen. That was something that happened with Jesse as well. I guess I'll just start rambling, Louka, while you maybe jump on a mobile device and let me know if that doesn't work, and then we'll figure something out. But yeah, we wanted to talk about kettlebell training. I know several of you watching right now are kettlebell enthusiasts. I've got a lot of SFG people on my friends list. So many of you guys already have bit the bug, drank the Kool-Aid, whatever you want to call it. I know that kettlebells really saved me and kind of completely manipulated my relationship with training and exercise. We have this sort of culture around fitness that harder is better, that we need to do more. I can't swipe my screen. So Luke, I still have the invite open. Just jump on your mobile device. But yeah, that we think that exercise has to be really intense and we just need to be like this sweaty pool after, just in this pool of our sweat afterwards, and that's not really productive, and that's why people come to me and Judy's like, yeah, hell yeah, Judy. Instead of seeing it as a practice, instead of approaching our fitness as something therapeutic and something healing. Luke, I still can't invite you. Oh, seeing it as something therapeutic and something that can benefit us in many different ways instead of just having us look good or having us get sweaty at the end of our workout. I think we chase this feeling good after our training when there's other things that we need to focus on to make sure we have a productive, effective workout. Cool, I got you on.
Hey.
Were you on your desktop?
Yep.
I'm so sorry. I should have said that. I forgot.
No problem.
Yeah.
I thought it was an American thing.
Oh, no, because he's Canadian. And my Facebook people know how I love Canadians. Every Canadian I've interacted with have been so friendly.
Cool. How are you?
So I appreciate you coming on and having this discussion. I have a feeling it'll come out. We'll try not to be kind of preachy because we're both like on the exact same wavelength on all of this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. We want to help people and give people the right information, you know. I never like to put myself on a pedestal and say that I'm better than anyone else or that we're better, but it's just also education, and it's making people aware of the knowledge that we have and just helping other people, making people better, right?
Yeah. Well, and we often call our clients in Strong First students, which is talking about teaching, right? And educating is that it's really important for us to educate people and not just be like, well, you're just going to do this because you're going to do this, right? And like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
I know I love taking students who want to learn.
Yep. That's the best. That's the best feeling in the world, to have some students that are dedicated and that want to learn. But let me tell you that that's not always the reality.
No, it's not. And that's okay too. Like there's no judgment there too. Um, so tell me a little bit about your clients and what you experience in your practice, because I know ours are a little different. Like I work with the people more in pain, and you
Yeah.
work with fat loss.
Yeah. Let me tell you that I do work with a lot of people in pain, because most people are.
Yes.
Most people are in pain, whether you like it or not. Most people that want to
Yep.
get fit, especially if they're, a little older, even 30s, 40s and up, if they've never trained before, have never exercised, or even if they have, people are dealing with pain all the time because of lack of movement or lack of proper movement, or they don't take care of themselves. They don't stretch, they don't foam roll, they have this nagging pain and they let it they accept it. They think it's part of their
Yep.
lives. But they don't, maybe take the time to maybe research or find out what is the cause. So our jobs, your job, my job is to help these people and to find out where their starting point is, where are they at, and what they need to do in order to get where they want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I like too that you say in our culture too, we normalize pain and thinking like, oh, it's normal to have pain when we work out. Like I know for me, when I first got under my barbell in 2010, I followed Mark Ripito in starting strength, and I loved it. And I did Wendler from Jim Wendler, like the powerlifting program, loved it, but I wasn't properly coached. So I got under my barbell and they said like arch hard, right? Versus that's for people who sit all day in flexion, versus I was already living in extension. So arch hard. I screwed up my back. Like I still have to deal with chronic pain, and I would get under the barbell, heavy weight, thinking, oh, it's normal to have pain when I lift.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait, no.
I always believe that you have to find the right cue for the right person, or the right corrective for the right person. No, you're not going to tell everyone you got to arch hard. You're not going to tell everyone, you got to, let's say, I don't know, look down or look up in a movement. Yeah. Everyone is different because you have to find out where they're at, what's their posture like, and what are their weaknesses, what are their imbalances.
Yeah, it's a skill, and I think people run into the gym and they think like, oh, I can just do this thing. Like I talked to my partner Jason, who's an SFG, and he was saying like he blew his shoulders out doing push-ups. You know what I mean? Like something that we see as so simple and easy, and generally like, yeah, it's fairly safe, but the execution, like there's so many little nuances in a movement pattern, especially when you've been inactive for so long. Yeah. It's been mind-blowing for me. Like Jason was my kettlebell coach for a good year. And I was like, I know what I'm doing. And then when he actually coached me and watched me, I was like, wow, like I had to unlearn everything. I was just telling my client this morning, I was teaching him the swing and the deadlift, and I was like, yeah, like learning a kettlebell swing is usually unlearning, because most people like have played with them, and it's like mind-blowing when you actually do it right and you're efficient, and then everything just gets better. Like a lot of people get their back pain go away with swings. You know what I mean? Like it's therapeutic.
A lot of light bulbs go off with people, and they realize that there's a much better way to train, and there's a much more mindful approach to train, that they don't have to kind of just do the motion and be somewhere else, because that's what's missing. That's the missing component, is that mindfulness. When people are training, they're not there. They're somewhere else. You go to a typical big box gym, and people are on machines, they're on treadmills, and they're on their phones, and they're doing something else, right? So they're not there.
No, that's so true. That's so true. I was talking to my client about that this morning too, is like, because he just started doing the online coaching with me, and he's like, this is really strange. He's like, usually I just go to a personal trainer, they just tell me what to do, and I just go through the motions. And I'm like, yeah, that's not the way that this is going to work. It's like,
they count the reps for them.
Yeah, I was like, you're going to be like really in your body. You're going to be really present. You're going to be focused on your breathing and, 100%. Getting deeper and rooting through the feet or whatever, feeling it more in your glutes. And like, I'm constantly asking clients, where do you feel this? Describe to me how this feels to you. And they're not used to that. And I think it's also really therapeutic for my experience, women who constantly are rejecting their bodies. And they don't feel comfortable in their body, and we're asking them like, okay, now you're going to actually be in your body and be present here and really witness your abilities, which is
Yeah.
so fun. Like, it's like, wow, like I'm really
Yeah.
appreciative of what my body can do. I didn't know this about myself,
They love
right?
it.
People love
It's a
learning
learning
about
experience.
themselves. It is,
Absolutely.
yeah. One of my group clients right now, I was doing a workshop last night on how to stay more consistent, and I was asking them what their emotional why was, like their emotional attachment to why they were doing their practice. And she said initially it was the weight loss, and she still wants to lose some more weight, but she was like, well, now my new why is mastery. I really like the mastery of the practice. I was like, yeah, that's so good. Like, it keeps you consistent. You're like, I have more of a curiosity about my body.
I think that's
Like,
a missing component. It's the missing component with all physical endeavors is the skill. And going back to that physical, the way they used to do it in the old times, the old physical culture was more about practice and skill rather than the trend now, which is the workout and the I'm gonna say balls to the wall approach, you know, and then every workout has got to be hard, and you're gonna grind it out, and you know, one more rep type of thing, and that's kind of been a fad. And there's another school of thought, which is us, of the take your time approach, you know, progressive overload, and you get better over time, and you can't force progress. You really have to listen to your body too. How's my body feeling on this day, and can I do this? And because people tend to overdo it in the gym. You know, they go to the gym, they'll hit every muscle group, and then they'll spend a couple hours there, and they be so sore the next day. They need an entire week to recover. So the mentality you want to have is that you're going to do it again the next day, or how much can I do today, and have that minimum effective dose to where less is more.
Love that.
And where less is more, and you can come back stronger the next day and feel really good, and you know, that's what it is. That's what it is.
That's so true. My client is watching this right now, and she's laughing because she's like, "This is me." And Jessica's has a lot of synchronicities right now working together, right? And because she go balls to the walls in the training. A lot of my clients will do that, and they need that. They're like, "I don't have balance, Jess. I'm either like all in or I'm all out." Versus that minimal dose effect, I stand behind so strongly. Like, are you able to train another day, or are you annihilating yourself? Like, I used to think that, oh, it's okay to feel like I got run over by a truck when I leave the gym, you know? And like, some days are not saying like every session should just be easy and light, right? Like, there are days where you need to push more, but it's programmed in a way where it's systemized, right? And it's systematic. It's understanding the ebbs and flows of how a body recovers. And it's not just grinding all the time and expecting and pushing and shoving. Like, it doesn't work, and that's how breakdown happens.
The true skill,
not wanting to do it.
The true skill comes when you're able to switch gears. I heard a great quote from.
I love that.
I heard a great quote from Pavel. He said that there's two types of people at the gym. There's the people that are only in first gear. They're barely doing anything. They're on a leg extension machine, and they're just basically not doing much. And then there's the people that are in fifth gear all the time, and they go balls to the wall. He said it's the rare person that is able to switch gears and to go into first, second, third, fourth, and fifth when he wants to. And you're able to go back.
For life. That's like in anything, right? Like, usually they say like how you show up in one area of your life is how you show up in another. Like, that's a perfect analogy 100%. For people who are in fifth gear, like business and this and this. I got to do everything versus like
I got a 10x.
Allowing yourself to
yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, that really speaks to me, and I think it speaks to a lot of my clients if some of them are watching. I'm learning how to like see when people are watching, like I'm scrolling here. But because taking that approach, like both of us believe in longevity, right? And I think also in the fitness culture, it's more about short term, like 3-month programs and, 6-pack abs in 8 weeks or whatever like that.
I think those programs have a purpose as a kickstart to help people get started, because commitment, let's face it, commitment is hard for people. Like, hey, if I met you for the first time, Jess, and I asked you to marry me, you'd probably say no.
I
or maybe
probably would
not,
say
you know.
no.
But, first step is actually like, starting off. And you have to start people slow and give them a minimum, like less commitment at first and make them
Right.
something that's easy for them. You have to start
Yep.
easy and it has to be doable for you. And everyone is going to be at a different spot in their lives in terms of what they feel they can do. You know, they're
Yeah.
going to,
Well, I love somebody else said this, a fat loss coach was saying like, and I practice this with my clients, is like, make sure you're like 90 to 95% sure you can hit that goal to breed success, like always breeding success. It's like, don't make this commitment. I'm going to work out 5 days a week and I'm going to eat super strict paleo, like ketogenic and calorie cycling and right? Like, you're going to fall on your face. Like, we only have so much that we can do, get disappointed, get discouraged, and then give up.
I think that's a problem too. It's like, what's the next best thing? I mean, there's all kinds of diet coming out. Like there's the meat diet and whatever, Twinkie or whatever you want to call it. There's, paleo, keto, you name it. But why don't we just go back to natural eating and not really worry about being so strict necessarily, and doing things that are restrictive. Because that's where people go wrong, is that they restrict themselves too much. They feel overwhelmed and they can't do it. So they fail. So they have, it's like they have to go back to eating going back to your hunger signals, eating natural food, tasting. As Dan John would say, eat like an adult. Have your green vegetables.
I love that.
Yeah, have your green vegetables, have your protein, which is like the size of your palm, or depends how big your hand is or whatever, and a tall glass of water and a little bit of carbs like sweet potatoes and quinoa and some rice, but not overdo it. People tend to overdo things. They overeat, people binge eat, they have weird relationships with food, and it's just it's unconscious. It's just this unconscious pattern that we have. But we have to go back to eating consciously, exercising consciously. It's all about the awareness.
I think too, just when you were saying that, and I've been doing all this with my small group clients as well. It's like, I did a workshop on the anti-diet, and it was all about like intuitive eating and learning to listen to your appetite. And like, nobody can tell you the exact perfect diet that you're supposed to eat to lose X amount of weight. Like, nobody. Like, there's so many different variations, but if you stick to the basics, right, like eat like an adult, or some other coach said don't eat like an asshole, like that's going to work most of the time. Like, all these small things like the calorie cycling, the carb cycling, keto, like those I would consider more advanced modalities of nutritional manipulation, right? Of like, master the basics first, just like with kettlebells, right? Like, master the hinge first. One of my clients said, so all of kettlebell work hinges on the hinge. And I was like, that's it.
Pretty much.
Everything on kettlebell is like, it hinges on the hinge.
Yep.
But yeah, master the basics. But I think like when people jump on all these different things to do, like they have to get really restrictive, it almost gives them this false sense of security that it's going to work, right? They're like, well, it has to work. I'm doing all these amazing big things. It's like, that's not always the case. Like, you have to trust the process and move slowly.
That's it. And you have to find what's right for you. There's different things for different people, right? So it's just finding the right thing and making it sustainable, making it doable for people, and for them to feel good. And there has to be a continuity and consistency to it.
Yeah. Judith, I think it is just you. I don't see a frozen screen.
Me neither.
I see me moving and animated.
Could be the internet connection or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be your internet connection, Judith. I totally hear that. And I think people, they have to see it more in the long term too. Like, we're so focused on just the short term. I always ask people like, well, what are you going to do after this?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I don't know. It's like, thinking long term is really important too. Because otherwise it's that on off the wagon thing, right? Oh, something else I wanted to say. I'm helping a trainer be a better trainer, which I absolutely love if you're watching. But I was telling her the other day, I was like, how to be a better trainer is to not put ultimatums on your clients, like not say you have to eat this way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever do that. There's very rarely is there ultimatums, right? In absolutes. And also don't follow dogma, for God's sakes. Like, you know what I mean? It's sort of in line with the ultimatums, but like, this is the only way. And I know I did that for a while. I was like, so in my headspace of like, this is the only way and there's no other way. Or like some people are so diehard on keto, for example, like they're terrified of carbohydrates. And to me, that sounds like a dysfunctional-ish relationship with food. Like putting these associations of like good or bad to food.
If you're doing keto, I mean, it has to be personal. Whatever you're doing has to be personal. It's like, okay, you could talk about religion, but
it has to be in context.
It has to be in context, and I think there's different methods for different people, and again, it's finding the right thing for you, right? Even
and
if
knowing that sometimes it changes.
It changes. You know what? Everything changes, by the way.
And that's beautiful. That's what we want.
Yeah, there is an absolute that everything changes. Nothing is permanent. Things are always in fluctuation. Things are breaking down, building up. And that's just basically a law of nature, if you look at it.
Yeah.
Everything in life is like aging and building, so
cyclic,
there's constant change.
I talked about this yesterday.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and it helps.
So, did you want to talk about kettlebells?
We are talking about kettlebells. I was thinking too, like when we talk about cyclic, people think that working out training is linear, and it's not linear. Did you crash a little bit? Let's scroll up and see all these comments. Okay, Judith is good now.
Cool.
I'm good. I'm here. I think your internet connection is a little bit clunky.
Let me see.
Can you hear me okay?
Better now? Yep. Here we go.
I'm surprised my internet works well. Internet usually is... Okay, we good?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
I was saying how we think that things are linear, but how you were talking about things are cyclic and things are always like breaking down and building back up. I would get so frustrated when, like, we talked about performance goals, right? Of like, don't focus on fat loss, focus on performance. But even with me, like being obsessive and fixated on numbers and weighing my worth attached to some number, whether it was what I could lift or my weight, I didn't realize that we do ebbs and flows. Like your strength is not going to be linear. Your fat loss is not going to be linear. And that doesn't mean that you're a failure. It's just accepting, right? Like natural law.
Natural law.
Yeah, like you have to accept that and know that like there's nothing wrong with you. That as long as there's that upward trend, which I know if some of my small group clients are watching this, they're like, oh, we just talked about this last night. Like as long as there's that upward trend, then you're doing fine. Like you're doing okay.
That's it. And sometimes there's going to be a downward trend, but it's like purposeful. Purposeful downward trend to where you kind of sort of force yourself to go down.
Yes, well, like a deload, right? Like
a deload.
You need a deload.
That's it.
Yeah,
and you have to understand the purpose of that. You hate it?
I hated taking deloads. I was like, because Wendler would program it every 4th week. You'd have to take a deload, and I was like, screw this! I'm not taking a deload. What's a deload week? Deload for people who are watching is basically you're doing usually half your weights, or you're doing much less volume. So it's to take a break because we think about training muscles, right? You're training muscles when we work out, but we're also training nervous system and other systems. So it's important to completely rest all systems.
Absolutely. It's necessary for the body and progress, 100%. And exactly. there's deloads and everything. So you will.
Right? It's we try to work against nature. We're like, well, I'm just going to push and grind. It's like nothing just goes and goes and goes and goes. Like we need. I think about it like Jessica and I, she's still watching, we're talking about masculine and feminine energy, right? Like masculine's more go and power, and feminine is more like leaning back, right? It's that same duality, like yin and yang, right? Like there needs to be that balance, or things are imbalanced and then they become dysfunctional and we deteriorate and break down. And then people see us and they're injured.
That's it. So like it or not, you will cycle.
Yes. Yes. Um, does anybody have any comments down here? I don't know what time it is. Usually I try to time these because I can't see my clock right now.
I think
About
it's like 20
30-ish
till.
minutes. I figure people like, okay, I'm seeing if there's any comments.
Say
Love
hi,
my
guys.
fellow Canucks. Is a Canuck a Canadian?
Canuck.
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 Is that a Canadian? Like a slang term?
Yeah, they call us Canucks. Johnny Canuck, right? The stereotypical Canadian.
I've never heard of that. I'm
You've
sort of
seen a
close.
lumberjack. You've seen a lumberjack type of stereotype guy, right? With the big
Yeah,
old
well, I'm
axe
from
and
Maine,
the
so that's
plaid. The
kind of a
plaid.
Maine stereotype.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How do you get to practice if not being in only first or fifth gear?
Oh, Jess,
Well,
this.
great question. You can basically keep it in third gear all the time. So you have to figure out what is your rate of perceived exertion when you're training. And
Mm-hmm.
some days most days you want to keep it between 70 and 80% of a rate of perceived exertion that you want to push yourself. But some days, you feel good, you feel strong, you can test yourself to maybe 90% or a 9 on 10 effort. And some days
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing like a competition, because let's say, okay, Jess, when you had to do your snatch test, you had to go 10 on 10, you had to go like all out, right?
Yes, I did.
So you do that, that's rare. You don't do that all the time. That's for a
Uh-uh.
competition. And then you had to build back up when you finished, the next day or the next week, you had to train really easily and you had no
Yeah.
choice. So that's where the peak comes in, and then you have to go back down. The only way after a peak is down. So you have to go back down in the first gear and build back up again. But most of the time you could cruise into like third and fourth gear, and that means maybe 60 to 80% effort, or 75% is a good thing that you can maintain and practice and continue to get stronger without exhausting yourself. The key here
Yeah.
is never really exhausting yourself. And I talk about this like Steve Bakari has a good analogy of putting money in the bank. And when you strength
Mm-hmm.
train, it's like putting money in the bank. You're accumulating your savings, right? So you can spend it on a competition, or go into that zone where you're using all your your mental capacity and your strength, and you're pushing hard. So that's gonna empty out your bank account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But most of the times, think of putting money in the bank. You get your reps in, they feel solid, they feel strong,
Yeah.
and they feel almost like perfect, right? It's getting those perfect reps day in and day out, and waving the volume. Sometimes doing a little more, sometimes doing less, and then, like you said before, Jess, that cycle.
Yeah. No, that was a great answer. Jessica's actually in a small group coaching program with me, and we've talked about this before. It's like exactly what you were saying, and I know Jason had told me too, is like work in that 70-ish% range. And as you work in, he drew a diagram, I remember, and I was like blown away. Like I was familiar with it before, but when he drew it, I was like, oh, I get this. Like he drew the diagram with 70% in the middle,
Mm-hmm.
and like 100% in the outside. And as you grow that 70% bubble, the 100% grows bigger as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So we think like, oh, I'm only dealing with, 70% of what I can lift. Like, what's the point? But that inner
It
circle
expands.
grows, that expands the outer circle. Like when I just suddenly did a 20-kilo snatch over my head, and I was like, shit, like I never did that before. I was like screaming, right? And I had only been training with a 12 kilo or 14 kilo, which is
Outstanding.
significantly less than a 44 pound.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like it just expands. Perfect. Jessica said, thank you.
It expands your
Jessica and I
comfort zone.
also, yeah, expand your comfort zone. And Jessica and I also talked about, this is what I did when my hormones were completely like bombed out several years back, was I tracked my, kind of like my exertion level or my fatigue level before, during, and after.
Yeah.
To make
Good.
sure, like, can I push today? I was telling Jessica last night too, of like, after you do your warm up, so say spend 5 or 10 minutes doing a warm up, like pause with yourself take a couple breaths, like do your diaphragmatic breathing and check in with yourself. Like, what does my body feel like doing today? How hard can I push? I know Karen Smith, amazing coach, SFG coach, master leader, I think is her title. Karen was saying when I took the SFG a couple months ago that for her, she knows if like a 16 kilo feels good for her, like she can get her solid reps, then she gets a green pass to go forward to her training. If that 16 kilo feels a little heavy, she's like, all right, like I'm going to back off.
That's it. And that's it. It's just taking your time and building up, you know, when you have your training session is starting a little easier and then feeling it out, feeling the weight out and seeing what you're capable for that day. There's definitely ways that you can test yourself, but here's the thing: strength training is it's not testing yourself. When you're testing, you're testing for a PR. So when you're strength training, you're building strength. You're not testing. That's the difference.
I love that, Louka. Why didn't somebody tell me this like 5 years ago?
That's what people don't get, is that every time they go to the freaking gym, they feel like they have to freaking test themselves and go for a PR and go all out and do as much as they can or more, or try to surpass what they did the week before. And that's wrong. That's the wrong approach. I mean, okay, granted, it's great to like have progress over time, but you definitely don't want to think of it as I'm trying to test and do more or push myself to my limit. If you want to push yourself to your limit, you're going to find it pretty quickly. You're going to find it really fast. So build your strength, you know. If you could do 5 reps of something and feel like you could maybe do 1 rep more, but then make that 5 rep consistent to where you're able to do 5 reps 5 times, you know, and then do 5 reps and add maybe 1 or 2 more sets, you know, and then that's how you build. You're not trying to do more than 5 every single time. You're trying to build more load, more volume, more work. And that's what builds strength. That's the foundation of strength, is volume.
If only I had known this. I'm just thinking about how much of an asshole I was when I was lifting, of like, well, if I could do 5, I have to do 6. You know what I mean? Like I was just constantly beating myself to do more versus just expanding that smaller circle, that 70%, like getting really good, owning your reps, right? Like I'm on a Strong First program right now that like most of my training feels fairly easy. Like it doesn't trash me, but I'm getting stronger. Like the 20 kilo over my head was evidence of that, you know, and I'm moving up to double 20 squats. So yeah, like your training doesn't have to feel like you're going into a battle, and it doesn't feel like you have to test your strength. Because again, like you'll fry your nervous system. Like my nervous system was exhausted. It's very demanding on our nervous system to do PRs, personal records all the time. Like we need
I've been there, done that several times, and I made the mistake and realized and made the mistake again. So sometimes you learn from your mistakes, but you got to repeat them 2, 3, 4 times before you actually realize that, you know, this is like wisdom. Actually, it's wise to understand the body and to, you know, be kind of take things as they come, you know, and learn to understand that you can, if you push yourself too hard, then you'll be digging yourself a hole.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's so much harder to get out of that hole. I'm thinking too with nervous system fatigue, you're also not only not going to get those PRs, right? Because your nervous system is fatigued. You're not going to have that same output, but also injury risk because your motor control is impacted. So the ability to execute the movement safely and efficiently and really clearly is going to be impacted as well with that neural fatigue. So it's not only a matter of like your nervous system's going to be tired, you're going to feel like shit after you train, but also increasing your risk of injury. And then you're not going to be able to train for quite a while longer, you know? So you're just shooting yourself in the foot with that, even though we have to learn that multiple times sometimes because it's fun to be strong and fun to lift heavy shit over our head.
That's sometimes the meaning of life.
Sooner than later. So does anybody have any other questions here? I'm reading Judith. Great point. Jessica, that makes so much sense. Jess, I'm so glad that you're getting so much value out of these conversations. Jackie, I know
we should do this again.
Yeah, I'm really getting used to this Facebook Live thing. Like I'm still at the most comfortable part of my day, I'll say, but I enjoy the conversation, and I think Yeah, juice. It also prevents injury. Absolutely. I think it gives people some perspective. Like the intention behind this series of expressions of strength, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever, is having conversations that people aren't really exposed to generally.
Yeah, they don't expect it.
They don't expect it. And like these are in the conversations that like I needed when I was building my strength.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I needed to hear like, stop being an asshole to your body. Like
Same here.
pace yourself, right? Like that would have been really important information for me
Yeah.
to receive and actually apply.
And another thing too, I wanted to mention was, you know, if you have a workout partner and you're trying to compete against each other all the time, it's going to end up bad. You know, there's something that's going to break down. You know, that's bad news. If you have a workout partner, and that's one of the reasons I like training on my own, and I don't have a workout partner, is, you know, but that's a personal choice. Some people like workout partners and that's what they need and they enjoy that. But, you know, for Christ's sake, you know, a little bit of competition is good, but don't try to overdo each other every single session.
Yeah.
You know, and I did that.
So true.
I did that for years. I had a workout partner, and it just, you know, there was always that little angst, that, you know, that little jealousy, to where, oh, I'm better than you, or I can do more than you, or you always try to outdo each other, and that could be bad, you know. So it depends the type of relationship you have with your workout partner, but that's what I was dealing with, and you know, you don't want that.
It's counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive.
For sure. Yeah. I'm thinking I never liked workout partners either. I mean, I appreciate them and I have them sometimes, but yeah, like I feel like I can get more into my body without like feeling like I'm trying to compete. And like there's so many different things that, you know, fitness programs that are very competitive and you're trying to like beat the next scores, which is fine. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? Like having the workout buddy or having like a CrossFit like system where you're kind of getting on the wall or whatever of your point systems, as long as you're still honoring, respecting, and listening to your own body's feedback and not letting ego drive the boat, I think 100%. Is one of the most important things. And being able to step back and know that there's more to it than just, me and Jesse talked about this on Wednesday, there's more to it than just reaching the peak. Like there's the evolution that goes along with it. Like don't always think that the peak is the best. The process, I'm going to do a workshop in a couple of months, I think, on finding presence in the process or finding pleasure in the process. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about presence and awareness, like we were saying before. The more awareness you have in your daily life, and you know, whatever you do, it's not just training, it's also nutrition. Right? We talk a lot about it in our program.
And accountability and personal responsibility and your language, and it just all kind of feeds into itself.
Exactly.
Awareness is good. I love, most of my clients are very self-aware and they're like very analytical of their habits and their behaviors and their thought process, and I'm like, good, like you guys are way above the curve, because otherwise Jason had said this to me also, is we outsource our discomfort and we outsource like really looking inside ourselves, and we're always looking for other people for answers and to have them tell us what to do. And I know I've done that, especially in my business. I'm like, let me just hire a business coach and they just tell me what to do. It's like, well, sometimes that can work. Sometimes if you lack the skills in those areas, but other times a lot of it is being able to pause and have awareness of what you need. And moving from that space instead of always outsourcing and being like, I need somebody else to just tell me, you know, there's no guru, right? Like you're the guru of your own body and yourself. We just often don't step back and listen to ourselves enough to really understand what our body is telling us.
Yeah. And sometimes we need guides. We need people to tell us what to do or take the right path. Mentors. Those are super important. And role models, people we can rely on and show us the right way, and people that have made mistakes, right? Like you and I, like we've made all the mistakes in the book, but the goal is to learn from them and just try to guide someone and see if they can avoid it. If we can help someone avoid the mistakes that we made, we can make them better and make them save time, really.
Save time, especially save time, save money, be more efficient. What's our time at, Louka?
I gotta get going actually really soon.
Okay, cool. I figured it's like 35 minutes. Thank you everybody for watching. I see a ton of people here in all these comments. So always appreciate when people come on and add comments and you know, let us know if you get value from this conversation. I thought it was a great conversation. So thank you, Louka, for
my pleasure.
For coming on
We'll do it again.
and indulging us here. Cool. All right, guys, we will talk to you later.
Talk to you guys later. Bye, Jess.
Bye.
Ciao.